In my career, I've had at least 20 different lead generation strategies that I've tried, different sources, some great, some not so great. And I've spent over $3 million on leads. That is shocking. Just think about that for a second. Over the last 10 years, I've spent $3 million on leads. We built a database of 75,000 leads. Maybe it's up to 80,000 now. And in this video, I'm going to break down all of the different lead sources that we have tried from best to worst. I'm not going to go through all 20, but I'm going to really share with you the 13 that I think are at least worth having a conversation about. We're going to start off with the worst ones that I've ever experienced. Then we're going to end with what I believe are the best ways to generate real estate listings and leads that I've personally experienced. Let's just kind of jump right into it. First of all, this isn't theory. Every strategy on this list is something I've personally tested across the last 10 years, over 1,600 real estate transactions on our team, over 400 personal real estate transactions, and like I said, over $3 million in my actual money in lead spend. So very few people in this industry have spent as much as our team has to build a database that we've got. There's certain teams, that have larger databases for sure. Like there's certain teams that have 200,000-300,000 leads in their database, but we, for a small team, being like less than 10 agents, have an enormous database that we've built up over the years. And we've done that through really intelligently choosing the right lead sources that we know are going to convert over a broad range of time, ranging from inexpensive leads to the most expensive Zillow, Realtor.com type leads. I'm going to break those all down for you today. I'm going to rank them from worst to best based on real results, real dollars, and real conversion cycles. Conversion cycles in real estate means how long does it take to actually get this lead from inception, when it first comes into my database and I start working it, to actually getting a commission check. And we have to remember that real estate is a very long sales cycle. Most people don't make just, immediate decisions when it comes to buying a house. They typically start by browsing homes online or looking up the value of their house if they're a seller. And they go through what I call the information collection phase, where they're gathering information, trying to decide what they want to do and if this makes sense. And then they eventually transition into a decision-making phase. In that transition between those two phases, that you really want to capture the leads, but you need to be aware that this life cycle could be as short as 3 months. I've had some deals even convert like literally in the first 30, 40 days into a commission check, meaning they literally bought the first house I showed them, or they listed right away. But I've also had others that took 4 years to close. So I want to be very transparent with you that this is a long-term play, and you're going to be building a pipeline of people that could convert today, next week, tomorrow, next month, next year. It just is going to completely range based off the lead source and the person's motivation. Most agents are going to waste 12 or more months and thousands of dollars on the wrong lead source before they ever figure out what actually works. This list is the shortcut. It's the paid playbook of what I did to really break through and build a big database and to build it fast. But before we get into the list, I want to remind you that I will always tell people that you need to be committed to trying a new lead source for at least 6 months. Agents have a very bad history and reputation for jumping into a lead source for a month or two. They decide they don't like that lead source and they just bounce around to the next lead source. That's not what you want to do. It takes time to determine if something works. It also takes time to build your skill set to learn how to convert that type of lead. And it takes time to build a system that is scalable and that allows you to turn up the dial on leads and still have that same predictable outcome as they come in. Okay. So I want you to be committed to at least 6 months before you try any of these. Like you're going to go the distance for 6 months, or I don't want you to even start it. Preferably even 9 months before you make a decision on what works and what does not. You can't just give up in the first 30 or 60 days like most agents do. We're talking like 90% and say this lead source sucks. Well, the lead source doesn't suck. There's no such thing as crappy leads. There's just leads in different stages of the process, and there is crappy lead converters, meaning agents don't know how to talk to people and how to make a human connection to them. We've got different masterclasses that teach you how to convert leads and also how to convert buyers and sellers once you get them face to face. Our 58 module buyer and seller masterclass is linked down below. You can go ahead and grab that today. It's the PhD version of exactly how to do this at a very, very deep level. It's hours and hours of courses and instruction from our playbook that we've written over the last 10 years. But this is not like buying a car, guys. You have to realize that, and you have to respect that. People need time to go through the cycle. You can't force them to go faster than they actually want to go. You can help people get out of their own way. You can challenge their mindset, but ultimately people are going to move on their own timeline. You got to pick the sources that work best for you, but I don't want you to try to pick all 13 of these. That's another big mistake I see. I want you to challenge you to pick 1, 2, at a max 3, and go really deep on building your systems and processes out for that lead source, along with your skill set. Skill set is so important, okay? If you need help with those systems, again, we've got our masterclasses linked down below. You can go check those out, and those are going to help you really speed up the trajectory of your skill set and your systems. But let's get into the list. Number 13, the worst one in my opinion, geographic farming. Mass mailers to random homeowners, hoping that somebody sells. It takes a minimum of 12 months, usually more like 2 to 3 years of consistent ad spend before the return. So this is expensive and it's very passive. Like you're just literally having these postcards or some deliverable sent to this particular group of houses, and you're hoping that eventually somebody reaches out to you. We have definitely tried farming, and we actually have gotten some deals off of it, but it is a very long-term play. You have to pick your farm extremely carefully. You want to pick a farm area that's at least a couple of thousand houses. It can't be just like a couple of hundred homes. It needs to be at least a couple thousand, and it needs to be in a neighborhood that has a decent turn. And when I say turn, meaning like people are buying and selling in there pretty frequently. Well, you could probably have a couple of those neighborhoods in your market that you're thinking about right now that could be a good farm. And you can totally do that. I just want you to realize that you're going to spend as little as $500 a month, as much as a couple $1,000 a month, and it could be 2 to 3 years before you get any of that money back. The conversion cycle is extremely long and the strategy is very passive. I don't love that. I love it because of those reasons, okay? That gets me number 12, radio. We've done radio. We've spent as much as $12,000 a month on radio. It's very expensive. It works for massive brand recognition, but it does not really work for lead conversion. Okay. It's not going to give you qualified leads ready to go right now with some rare exceptions. We have definitely gotten some listings off of radio. It's kind of been a 1-to-1 rate ROI for us, meaning if we put in $1, we get back $1, but that's not really what you want with lead conversion. You want to put in $1 and get back $4 or $5. Okay. That's the ROI, kind of formula we're talking about here. But radio is expensive. It is across a very broad market, meaning like you might go on a listing appointment that's 2 hours from your office, and you have to be okay with that, or you have to refer those out because you can't just not help those people and make any money off of the lead. So it's really hard to track radio as well. You don't know where people are coming from. Most of them won't call a number that's on the radio. They're going to instead Google your name and then call you or reach out to you through that contact information that you've got digitally online inside of Google. It could be a phone number, it could be an email, it could be a website, whatever. But because of that, it's very hard to track where do these people actually come from, because it looks like they came from your website when in reality they came from radio. And we don't like any marketing or lead generation source that we really can't easily track. If I can't tell that this lead source is working and how it's working, meaning like how much money is it costing me per closing, what's my cost per close, I'm not spending a dime on that lead source. That's just the way that I look at things. If you want to do a mass branding campaign, if that's important to you to get recognized at the grocery store, everyone knows who you are, then radio could be a good option. But again, I want you to think at least $10,000 or more per month. If you're in a market like ours, we're just north of Seattle. It's a big market. There's a lot of competition on the radio and a lot of people spending a lot of money. So just be aware of that. I think for $10,000 a month, there's a lot of other things you can do that have a much quicker ROI and cash conversion cycle for you. And you could spend just less. That gets me to number 11, circle dialing and prospecting. So I don't like circle dialing at all. The reason I don't is because you're calling people that have in no way signaled they have any intention to buy or sell real estate. There's zero intent to these leads. There's zero request for information, looking at homes on your website, asking for the value of their home. They're literally doing nothing to raise their hand and say, hey, I'm a buyer or seller. So you're going to waste a shitload of your time reaching out to leads like this, okay? Most of these are going to be years away. At best, you're going to get like a 3 or 4% pickup rate on the phone because these people don't know who you are. And then most people aren't going to want to talk to you because there's no relevancy. So I just think it's a huge waste of time. It is very not specific. It is very not targeted. And because of that, I'm not a fan and I do not recommend people do it. That gets me to number 10, direct mail. This is different from farming. This could be targeted lists like probates, like cash offers, but it's got a specific message. And the more specific the list, the higher the response rate. It still requires an upfront spend. We used a company called REI Vault to do this, to acquire flip properties and basically listings that people didn't want to bring to the market in a conventional way. And it worked pretty well for that, but it's expensive. Like you're going to spend a couple $1,000s a month to get this going. It could take you 6 to 12 months to get any deals off of it. It's a very slow cash conversion cycle when you compare it to some other lead sources. Because of that, don't recommend it. Gets me number 9, door knocking. Door knocking is face to face. And so it is very influential and it's got some upside to it. But the downside is that a lot of people don't answer their door. They're not home or they don't want to talk to you. And so they just slam the door in your face. It's also not very efficient. Like it takes you time. Think like a couple minutes per house to go knock on that door. And if you get that chatty homeowner that's not actually thinking about buying or selling, they just want to talk to you because they need someone to talk to. Well, you get dragged into this like 10 or 15 minute conversation before you get out of there. So I don't like door knocking. I think it could make sense sense when it comes to bringing awareness to your open houses, like maybe door knocking the 25 doors most around that house to see if you can shake free another seller, maybe out of that. But beyond that, not a fan of door knocking. I don't like trading my time for money, right? Or the reverse of that, money for time. I'd rather invest money into something and buy back that time instead of working a lead source for free, giving my time away. I don't like that. And that's what door knocking is. That's what circle prospecting is. I'm working for free basically because I'm not paying any money for these leads. You got to think about that. We're always evaluating the trade-off. Am I investing time or am I investing money to do this? You have to remember that money scales much better than time. Number 8, the network groups, chambers, things like that. Most members already have a realtor, so breaking into this is going to be very tough unless it's a very specific group. Networking is, not really working. So it feels productive. It's very slow ROI unless you get in early into like a new group or you start your own mastermind group or something like that in your community. But I just think this is a huge waste of time. It's super old school. It's how agents, have done things like 30 years ago, just like the newspaper used to work. I don't think this works anymore. So I'm not a fan of it. I spend zero time on this. And I also coach people to spend no time on it. That gets me number 7, Facebook buyer leads. So to do Facebook buyer leads, you're going to have an IDX enabled website, which means the MLS listings push through to it. You're going to need to have some ad spend, an ads manager. Don't do the ads yourself. Facebook advertising is actually fairly complicated to do it right. There's a lot to it and they change how they work all the time. Ads manager has probably changed 300 times since I've been using Facebook ads all the way back to like 2015 or whatever. It's just a frustrating platform to build ads within. But worse than that is you have people with no search intent. They're not going to Google and typing in homes for sale in your area. They're just looking at pictures of their friends, kids or whatever, and they happen to see your ads. The intentionality is very low on these leads, which means that you're not going to convert a lot of them and you're not going to convert them very quickly. If you convert 1% of Facebook buyer leads, that's pretty good actually. And that's a lot of people to be talking to and not really getting anything out of to actually get the ones that will convert. A chunk of our database for sure was built off of Facebook buyer leads through a partnership with Ylopo when Ylopo first got going in 2017, 2018. And it worked a lot better then than it does now. It used to be a cheap way to get lots of leads in your database. And we were converting more like 3% at that time. But these days it's expensive and I just don't see the intentionality there. Okay, number 6, seller specific PPC. PPC stands for pay per click. Prime seller leads, bold leads, they do this. You can hire an ads manager to do it as well. Typically they're going to send these search intent people from Google that type in something like, what is my home worth, to a home valuation website where they punch in their address and that then pushes the lead to you. Okay. So you need to set up some systems. Like Prime Seller Leads has a really, really good website for people getting their home value. That's the one that we used. We've generated about 12,000 of these leads over the years. So I've done a lot of this. You're trading dollars for leads for sure. So it's going to be expensive. Be prepared for that. And the quality can vary quite a bit more than the buyer PPC. So I like buyer PPC quite a bit. It's actually my number 1 favorite lead source for scaling because you can just turn the dial up or turn it down, which is really cool. It's a lot harder to do that when you're in a contract with somebody like Zillow or Realtor.com. You're kind of stuck with that contract for the year, the 6 months that you've signed. But PPC, you can turn it up or down. The problem with sellers is they take a very long time to convert, like much, much longer than buyers. In my experience, and again, having generated about 12,000 of these leads and investing tens of thousands of dollars into them, most seller home valuation leads are between 12 and 18 months away from actually doing a transaction. So if you've got that kind of time to build a big database, then totally cool, work these and do it. But I think a better way to go is to actually just spend more money on buyer specific, it's a mouthful, PPC, and grab those buyers that also need to sell. About 40% of buyers that are searching for homes also have a home to sell. You're going to get 2 transactions that way. And the buyer lead is going to be much less expensive than the seller lead. A lot of times seller leads are also going to be buyer leads. Keep that in mind. That gets me number 5, organic content creation. This is going to be things like YouTube, podcast, social media, like Instagram, Reels, all that organic type stuff. This builds authority and leverage over time, but it requires radical consistency, daily, weekly. You can't just drop a video on your YouTube channel and think you're going to generate leads off of it. It takes time for these things to maturate. I am a big fan of this long term. If you need a closing in the next couple months, this is not the place to look, but I think that this deserves a place in your overall marketing strategy and that you should be doing these things, these long form and short form content approaches on YouTube, on Instagram, podcast, social media, like the different channels. Get awareness out there of what you do and how you do it and tell your story. Just realize it's going to be like a small piece of the puzzle for you. It's going to be a long-term play, but it will build authority for you over an extended period of time. Think like years, okay? Are you going to get a deal off of Instagram today? Probably not. But is your whole sphere going to know that you're in real estate? Yeah, they will. And so you're going to have top of mind awareness very quickly with those people. So definitely spend some time on this. You could make an impact on organic content creation with probably 2 hours a week of your time. Planning the videos, planning the content, and then getting it all scheduled to post. You want to do it all at once. You want to batch it out. That gets me to open houses, number 4. So done right, open houses I think can work really, really well, especially if you need a closing here relatively soon. When we think about a conversion funnel, let's say like Facebook leads are kind of like top of the funnel, meaning like they're really far out in the process. And let's say like Zillow leads are bottom of funnel, meaning they're like ready to go right now and actually like request to go see a house. Open house leads are right next to Zillow as far as their intentionality goes. Let's think about what open house leads are doing. They are out on their time touring houses without a real estate agent. Okay, that makes me think that this might be worth spending some time on. If you are a very busy top producer, you're probably not hosting your own open houses. I have not hosted an open house since 2017. And the reason why, like I said earlier, I trade money for time. But if you don't have the money, or if you need to get more business, open houses are a great way to do it. You can't just do a half-assed open house where you just show up at the house 5 minutes before it's supposed to start and sit there on your laptop or your phone or watching TV and just have people come in and out the door and not connect with them. You got to be on your feet. You got to be engaged. You got to be super present. You have to have more listings to show them beyond just that listing. You got to follow up with every single lead. You have to have them sign in. You have to go door knock the next 25 neighbors, try to find that next listing out of those people. There's a process for running open houses successfully. You also want to do them typically on roads that are easy to get to. Like it's not, 15 turns deep. It's not way out in the county. It's maybe 1 or 2 turns off of a main arterial road. So it's going to be easy to sign. And you want to do it on new listings or listings that have just had a price reduction. If you do one of those 2 things, you get a fair amount of traffic. And we don't need like 20 groups to an open house. You need like 3 to 5 groups, and you need to have time to connect with each one of these people. You should be practicing what you're going to say to these people in role plays. Don't just go wing it at an open house. Open houses are an art. They take a lot of intentionality. They take having a plan, but if you execute them well, it's going to work out really well for you. And it's not going to cost you a lot of money either. That gets me to number 3. We're getting to the expensive ones now. Realtor.com. So these are going to be property specific buyer leads. They're going to be very high intent because they're actually like requesting info on a specific home. Usually they've been on the Realtor.com app for a long period of time, like as long as like a year looking at houses before they request info on a particular home. And then you have bought separate zip codes in your market. And if you're the agent that's up in that zip code, you're going to get that lead. The problem with Realtor.com leads, a lot of them, and they don't tell you this necessarily, a lot of them are going to be sent to you, to another agent that's not on your team, and then to their in-house conversion team at realtor.com as well. So realize that there's probably gonna be 3 different groups of people reaching out to each one of these leads. So the lead might have a really rough experience. I don't like the experience that the lead goes through on realtor.com compared to Zillow. With Zillow, only one person reaches out to them. On realtor.com, it's everyone reaching out at the same time, and it's kind of a jump ball. So if you don't have speed to lead down, if you're not calling these leads in seconds, I'm talking like sub 3 seconds, you are definitely not going to convert them. You have to be so on top of realtor.com leads to actually get them to turn into a conversion. But for us in 2020, this was actually our top lead source. And I believe it was in 2021 as well. At one point, we were spending north of $25,000 a month with realtor.com, but our cost per close, it was under $2,000, which seems expensive. You got to remember our average commission is about $21,000. So it does make sense. It makes actually a ton of sense. If you can get to your cost per closing in that 10% range of your commissions, that's a really profitable place to be, by the way. Okay, that gets me to Zillow. Zillow is going to be probably the highest intent leads that you can buy. Open house leads might be the most high intent leads that you can just simply get by, spending your time. But if you want to pay to play, Zillow might be the place to look at for you. So expect to spend a lot of money. It could be north of $1,000 per lead. You also have to realize that if you're not a flex teams are those teams on Zillow that give a percentage of the deal, like 35 or 40% to Zillow, then you're going to pay a lot for these leads, because most of Zillow, they're sending these leads to the flex teams because they make more money off a flex team they do than just selling the lead to you. You need to be a big team traditionally to be a flex on the flex program. Like usually the people I know that are on a flex have like 10 to 50 agents on their team, just because it's a lot of lead flow. But if you're paying per zip code, which is what we have done in the past, we did not do flex. It did work really well for us for a period of time. When the market cooled off, it stopped penciling and making sense for us. We were tracking our cost per closing very closely, and it was again like in that $2,000 range. And then it also jumped up to like $4,500 a closing relatively quickly once rates went up back in 2022. 2022. That's when we stopped doing it because it just didn't pencil anymore. So keep in mind with Zillow and Realtor.com, it's very easy to cost share these through co-marketing with a lender partner. So a lender partner can pay up to 50% of these leads. I highly recommend that you go that route to get a more profitable cost per close for you. That gets me to number one, my favorite lead source. I already kind of revealed it to you earlier. It's Google PPC, pay-per-click for buyer leads. People going into Google and searching for a house in your area, like Everett Homes for Sale or Snohomish County Homes for Sale. That's the county we work in. I like the intentionality of this because people are taking the time to search for these houses. And I also like that they're not ready to go right now. Some of these leads, I've found that about 1% will convert in the first 90 days. If you've got the speed to lead game down, which I cover in Masterclass deeply, and if you also know how to talk to people, if you can do those two things really, really well, then you can probably close 1% the first 90 days. But the next 2% is going to convert over the following 18 months. So you have to have the right follow-up systems and processes to stay in contact with these people, okay? But because you're catching them pretty early on in the process, you have the opportunity to create massive trust and authority with these people if you're sending them videos, if you're bringing them value, if you're connecting with them in lots of different ways, and they're kind of seeing you everywhere, like kind of on all channels. That could be like seeing your videos on retargeting on Facebook, on Instagram, on email. Like you've got all these different ways you're staying in touch with these people. But this has been literally the number one ROI for us in the last 10 years. And a big part of our database has been built off of PPC. But again, like some of these leads are going to convert today. Some of them are going to convert in 18 months. You have to be prepared for that. And you got to be playing the long game. Mid-career agents stuck on the wrong lead source. This kind of gives you a framework to reallocate your budget. Team leaders evaluating ROI. This may be helpful for you as well. Brokerage owners, coaching agents out of Facebook, hamster wheel, like definitely a factor for sure. But I hope that if you're a new agent, you really consider trading your time for the money, right? Like go to the open house leads. Don't go spend a bunch of money on Zillow. Once you've got a really good business humming and you're closing 2 or 3 deals a month at least, you got good cash flow, you've got good savings, then maybe consider adding a paid lead source at that point. But I want to challenge you. Again, I said this in the beginning of the video, pick one strategy from the top 4. Don't try all of them. Commit to it for 90 days at least before you measure the results, more like 6 to 9 months. But if you don't have the ad budget yet, you want to start with the organic content, the open houses, while you build that cash flow up, okay? If you need help implementing any of these strategies, you can, of course, grab our Masterclass down below. It's our flagship program. It's 58 modules long. It is a masterclass on both buyer representation and listing representation. And it is the playbook that we have written over the last 10 years through trial and error and over 1,600 transactions. It's very tactical. It's going to give you the systems, the frameworks, the language patterns, the scripts, the checklists, everything you need to really scale your business, become a top producer. So my name again, it's Mike Novak with the Novak Real Estate Team. My wife and I have helped over 1,600 families, like I said several times, make a move. So this is all that we do. And we share with other agents exactly how to do it as well through our courses. We're also partnered with REAL Brokerage. We've been at REAL Brokerage since 2021, back when we only had 2,500 agents. We've got 30,000 now. If you're curious about REAL and you're anywhere in the country, there's also a link down below to learn more about partnering with us at REAL. And you can get some direct access and proximity to us and our mentors as well. Be sure, of course, to like, share, and subscribe to the video and the channel. That way you get notified as new videos drop. We do one per week, and I always try to pack a ton of value in there for you. I'll see you next week.